The guy, 22-year-old man, that I, 21-year-old woman, am dating is learning ASL for my brother. But my friends think it's creepy. How do I proceed with this? I, 21-year-old woman, met John, 22-year-old man, in a college class last semester. He's an overall great guy, and he's very respectful and kind. He also has a great sense of humor, and we have lots of similar interests. We've been friends since then, and we started dating this July. He's the first person I've ever dated in my life. Last September, he met my family when I visited home for my brother's birthday. My brother, Trev, 19 male, Trev,
19.
My brother Trev has been deaf since birth, so my whole family communicates with him either through sign language, Trev's lip reading, but we still just sign as reflex, or through text. During our small celebration at home, it was clear that my parents liked John. He was very charming, funny, and respectful. He even tried to connect with Trev by typing some of his jokes for Trev to read, although my brother could lip read as well. Whenever John would tell a story, either I or my parents would sign for Trev. My parents said that they're happy that I found a sweet and caring guy in John. Of course, I'm glad to hear this. Before we went back, John and Trev had a quick Call of Duty gaming session. For someone with Trev's condition, he is a really talkative guy, LOL. He's very expressive and likes to communicate a lot, especially when gaming. Of course, he couldn't outright trash talk, but he does the closest thing with his hands. So there we were in Trev's room, with John and Trev playing while I was translating for them. I was laughing way too hard because Trev was trying his best to trash talk John, like saying he's weak and trying to say all these expletives, but I'm trying my best to tone it down for John. Meanwhile, I'm also translating John's instructions and strategies for Trev. Also, because this was the first time John met my family, he was saying all these praises to Trev, like good job or we can do it better next time, although I know that deep inside he also wants to trash talk my brother. The two of them got along pretty well, and they've been having some online gaming sessions since then. 2 weeks ago, John visited home along with me again for my mom's birthday. There, he surprised everyone, including me, by communicating with Trev through ASL. John was still at the alphabets, some basic words, and some rehearsed phrases, but we were all delighted that he even made the effort. Trev's face lit up, and I've never seen him happier having a new long-term friend with low communication barriers. Apparently, John had been watching some YouTube tutorials and got a free subscription to Skillshare to learn ASL. The two of them had a gaming session again, and this time John and Trev could communicate more directly. Of course, it was still kind of slow, and I still had to do some translating. Imagine trying to baby talk a grown man or talking to a caveman with choppy sentences, LOL. But I could tell Trev was having a great time. They also got more comfortable with each other with more explicit trash talking, which I didn't tone down this time. John had been religiously learning ASL since then, and he's making a lot of progress. I was so happy with this, so I told my close friend group from high school. However, most of my friends, especially my closest guy friend, told me that what John was doing was a red flag because it could be a form of obsession and emotional manipulation. He also said it was creepy because John's becoming too attached to my family when we've only been dating about 5 months. He also said that John might only be doing it so he could get laid or something. I know there's some validity to what my friend said, but I'm not really convinced. John has been a wonderful and sincere guy the entire time, and I know it's naive to say this because he's my first ever relationship, but I can see this becoming long term. Yes, we haven't hooked up yet because I told him I wasn't ready yet, and he never pressured me to do it. However, is his behavior something I should really be concerned about? Again, I don't have any experience with dating and relationships, so I don't know if this is something that's truly concerning. My friends are pushing for me to break up with John, but I'm not sure. How do I proceed with this? Oh my God. Okay, no, we don't know these people. So based on just this is like a red flag for the friends. Yeah. Where I'm like, your friends are saying things that are concerning. I'm gonna go for every possibility that my brain is filling in here. The only justification I have for the friends is if they see other aspects of John that they find concerning and they're not being honest with OP about that, and they're coming up with an excuse. Yeah. Another thought I have is she's saying, especially her closest guy friend.
That's what I was...
And he is going, no, I don't like this guy because this and this and this. And I'm like, is your closest guy friend into you? Because that could also be a thing. That is sometimes a thing. And then lastly, I'm just like, this just sounds dumb. Like, or I don't know. Or OP is leaving a lot out.
I know that like when you're not in the relationship and or in the family, hearing about any of it, I think with a judgmental eye, you could be like, I don't know, that's kind of fast.
Sure.
but like you're not in the relationship and you're not in the family.
Yeah.
Like I think it makes sense to just be like don't go too fast, but this feels like good intentions all around. Feels like John isn't like, that's his name, right?
Yeah, John is.
Feels like John isn't trying to do that with an ulterior motive.
Right.
Like, I could understand like being like, slow down when someone's like moving in too fast.
Sure.
Or asking for money, or I don't know, thinking of anything else that isn't the most purest form of just wanting to connect, which is what John's doing.
The way they're going about this relationship is very different from how I've always viewed going into relationships, where it's like, oh, well, we haven't hooked up yet. We're not even like boyfriend, girlfriend. But I've introduced him to my family, and we're hanging out with the family.
But some people are that way.
And I know some people are that way. It's all very different from how I view things. So I'm like trying to like piece it together. But the friends are thinking that the learning sign language is the step too far. And I find that interesting because I'm like, well, your brother's also like 19.
I also think like
your brother's an adult.
I'd save it for OP. If I was their friend, I'd be like, I think it's like if they really thought that, be like, I think it's too soon to bring him home. But attacking him for just trying to connect with your brother is
I don't get that at all. No, it doesn't. That aspect doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It gives me a green flag.
It's a huge green flag.
No, and I feel like it doesn't seem like it's performative, you know? It's like it's not like he's just like, oh, showing like learning sign language, but like he's literally playing video games with him online.
Right.
Like he's just spending his free time hanging out with him.
He might just be a really nice guy who would do this even if Trev was just some guy that he met.
Yeah.
Like there are people who are that nice. And I think it's hard for some people to comprehend people that are that nice.
Or that nice that fast.
Yeah.
So I understand friends just being like, be careful or whatever. But like to attach it on the learning ASL part, I don't understand.
Comments. Your friends are thieves of joy. A guy that likes you is going out of his way to learn how to communicate with your brother. That's adorable. Don't let your friends on it. 26,000 upvotes. Someone said, if OP's friends are genuinely concerned, then I feel bad for them that they think someone being so enthusiastic about a relationship is a red flag. Someone said, this guy could get laid with a lot less effort than it takes to learn ASL. He has enough interest in you that he has gone out of his way to learn how to communicate with a member of your immediate family. Even your friends just wave at your brother. But this guy took it upon himself to learn ASL after meeting your family once. I personally think it's awesome. Ooh, that's another interesting point. That it is pointing out the lack of effort in her friends. That they all probably know her brother and hang out with her brother, and none of them have learned anything.
Yeah.
And that it could be like
that's really creepy. I can't believe we never thought about doing that.
This is a very vulnerable thing to say, but like I wonder if other people relate. Where like when you're in a situation where someone does like a really kind thing, it's like you have the thought of like I should have thought of, and you're just like, damn, like I feel bad about myself by proxy, but it's like. But don't go into shaming them for that. Like, all you can do is be like, you know what? That's a great idea that they learned that. I should do that too.
Yeah.
Like, take it as a like, oh, they took the initiative. I can follow the charge.
Yeah.
At face value, this is just really cool.
Yeah.
And he seems like a great guy. But let's see if there's more.
Okay.
Because we have an update.
Yay!
The day after the party, I had lunch with my closest girlfriend, Sophie, who's 21, to clear the air because I could tell that they could also sense something was off. A lot of Redditors speculated that Mike had a crush on me and was jealous of my relationship with John. Turns out you're all 1,000% correct, but it's a lot more complicated than that. Apparently, Mike has had a crush on me since our senior year of high school. However, he's known in our school as a notorious ladies' man and had a new girl with him almost every month. This got exponentially worse during college. He had different hookups almost every night, and he had even had a pregnancy scare with a girl last year. I knew about all of this because he bragged about sleeping around every time we met up. What I didn't know was that the entire time, Mike has been making up fake stories about me and him. Sophie told me that apparently Mike and I had a pact that if we were both single when we were 30, we'd marry each other. Also, he told our friend group that we hooked up after graduation and that he took my virginity then. So he's my special person, whatever that means. He also told them that we'd been secretly hooking up consistently throughout college. For context, Mike and I go to different universities that are just 30 minutes apart. Lastly, Mike told them that I said I'm in love with him. He told our friends not to tell me anything so I don't get embarrassed or upset since I have this image of being somewhat of a prude. Mike also told our friend group that when he met John, he thought that John was a total jerk who has been manipulating me and taking advantage of my innocence and naivete. He said that John had been forcing himself into my family and is driving a wedge between me and my friends. Mike also said that after he had lunch with me and John, he tried to convince me to stay away from John because he's not a good influence on on me, but John had effectively brainwashed me. This explains why my friend group was already so antagonistic toward John when I told them about him. For the record, none of what Mike said was true. There was no pact, we never hooked up, and I have never been in love with him. After that, Sophie and I asked the rest of our friend group, except Mike, to jump on a FaceTime call with us. They all shared different versions of what Mike told them. There were a lot more, but I disputed everything. We were all collectively shocked about everything that we learned that day. They apologized for their behavior toward me and John, and I told them I understand given all the lies fed to them by Mike. Then everyone agreed to kick Mike off of the friend group. Wow. So Mike was a monster.
Whoa! Mike was making a lot of
Mike was the red flag lurking through this green flag story.
Mike was quite the Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah, I don't understand how delusional you have to be to think that you can just do that and lie that much and that it's just all gonna be good.
It's all actually chill though.
Can we have a different ending? Can we have a different ending where it's like, oh, it turns out the guy was super manipulative. It's unfortunately, it's just always the case.
Yeah.
So he was, wow. You caught it, dude.
That's just once again like that's just some Reddit patterns that like, oh, male best friend who is saying some about my guy I'm dating. It's just like, oh man,
it's very
it sucks.
90s straight.
It sucks. And well, you know what sucks is it's not always the case because I have so many of my good friends are women, and I've been their friends for like over a decade, and I'm like, that is purely a platonic friendship.
Yeah.
But you see it so much because so many dudes are just incapable of viewing women as just friends. Like, it's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.